your eye like a big pizza.
This is different.
Will die. And if you don't have an abortion, you will die.
Those boys who are wearing their hair long are saying no to the mask industry.
The entirety of women's voting inside of the United States has been a complete unmitigated disaster. Unmitigated disaster which has led us to progressive policies, societal decay, a society which cannot reproduce itself, literally, can't even reproduce itself.
If it would be possible to make the men less aggressive, less competitive, less sure of themselves, that would be certainly something good. And
Jesus stood up here before us this afternoon and said, listen, I got two questions for you. Question number one, who do people say that I am? We'd have to tell him.
We'd have to tell him. We'd have to tell him, you know, Jesus, most people just want to reduce you to a nice guy.
No, because most pro-lifers, when they debate, they skip straight to the meta ethics part. Like they'll come up here and say abortion's automatically murder. I was like, what makes it murder? Like, and then why is murder wrong? Like if you're gonna make a positive claim, you're gonna have to come over here and prove your positive claim.
So I would say it's schmurder, and I can tell you why. It's just simply because it's an innocent life, and you're taking that innocent life. So that would be schmurder.
Oh, then you're gonna have to like it.
Actually, a fetus isn't like innocent. It's also not like guilty. It's amoral. Like it's not a moral agent because a fetus doesn't have that higher rationale to make like, you know, conscious moral or immoral decisions. So that would make it amoral, not good or evil.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So even if something, if I were to respond to that, even if something's amoral, it can also be innocent. Just because it isn't able to make a moral decision doesn't make it not innocent.
No, it can't be guilty or innocent because the capacity to decide if somebody is guilty or innocent is the factor. Did they consciously know what they were doing when they made that decision? No, a fetus cannot do that. A newborn can't even do that.
They have to have the ability to do something to be in a state of innocence, or the ability to do something to be in a state of guilty. Like you can't just say, that's like saying a firearm has the ability to be innocent or guilty. Like no, a firearm is just an amoral agent. Like it doesn't do anything. Like if you can't do anything to make it innocent or guilty, then it won't be innocent nor guilty.
Do you know what the definition of innocent is?
Not partaking in it depends. Like, are you asking legally, morally? What, like?
No, just from Oxford Languages, the adjective of being innocent. Do you know what it means?
I'm not familiar with the Oxford.
It means you're not guilty of a crime or offense. That's what it means. And then amoral is lacking a moral sense. Right. No, I'm tracking you, but what I'm telling you is that if you're incapable of committing a crime, let me just finish real quick.
To be guilty or innocent.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're no, because that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why don't you let me speak, 420? I know what you're saying. What I'm telling you is that someone who lacks. Hold on.
The capacity.
Hold on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you why. Because if someone is an amoral agent and they lack moral sense, 420, you gotta let me finish. If someone is amoral, they lack a moral sense, they are incapable of doing anything right or anything wrong. Therefore, they're unable to be an accessory to a crime or commit a crime. Therefore, they are innocent. That is what innocent means. That you have not done anything that is criminal. That is exactly what innocent means.
That's an appeal to legality. Wait, a crime is like a...
No, that's an appeal to what the word innocent means.
Yeah, that's all. That's an appeal to legality. Like, what is a crime? Like, what is the state of crime? Like, I could ask you, like I could say, Like I could say you staring at me is a crime, so you're no longer innocent.
Well, you would have to point to a moral authority that says it's wrong, and also point to an authority that enforces it as a crime. You can say that, but if there's no objective standard that says it's a crime, then it's not a crime.
Being
wait, so
inside
what-
another
hold on.
human.
Can I ask why did we determine that it had anything to do with a crime?
That's what I'm saying. That's a pure illegality.
It's not. No, it's not appeal legal.
Of something. No, you could be guilty of something that's not a crime, right? So, like, if you cheated on a test in school, that's not technically a crime, but you would still be guilty of it.
Okay, I actually got a hypothetical that might work. I actually have something that might work that might be able to get us on the same page. So, like, let's say there's two countries. In one country, it's illegal to walk down a sidewalk. In another country, it is legal to walk down a sidewalk. You would be innocent. Let's say you're in the country where it's illegal, right? If you're in the country where it's legal to walk down a sidewalk and you walk down a sidewalk, you were not innocent of that crime. But if you were to do that in the country that's neighboring to it, even the populace of that country would view what you're doing in the neighboring country, they would view it as a crime that you're guilty of. So the term innocent and guilty can be pasted anywhere. At the end of the day, if you're actually innocent in the purview of the authority that is present, that is what dictates if they're going to enact upon you doing something criminal or doing something that is innocent. But the term still means the same thing. I'm not appealing to legality. I'm appealing to what the term means, dude.
Okay, all right, I kind of understand, and I kind of think that, like, I would have, honestly, before you even gave the definition, what I was thinking of was, like, a lack of guilt, but, so you're saying that, like, the innocence would have to be, pretty much didn't commit a crime, which a fetus did not commit a crime, so therefore, technically, a fetus would be innocent?
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
If you are like infringing upon someone else's rights, though, you might not be like guilty of a crime, but you would be guilty of that, correct? So, I mean, if you're saying that baby's innocent, but my stance is that the baby is infringing upon my bodily integrity, how could you say that this is innocence? Clearly, the baby is infringing upon my bodily integrity, and we would have to discuss whether this is innocent or not. And if the baby is innocent of this, then I guess, like, you could do the naturalistic fallacy where you're like, oh, well, even if it unalives you, because it's natural, then it's fine. Or you could say that because there's no moral agency, that it's not like aggressing upon you with like malice intent, therefore it wouldn't be guilty. But then of course, obviously, we would go the sleepwalker route if you said that one, and we would come to the conclusion that you don't have to have malice intent, and you could even have wonderful intent, or you could have no type of moral agency at all and just absolutely no knowledge or control or understanding or like consciousness of what you're doing, and you would still be guilty of doing this. So then it would just fall back to the naturalistic fallacy then. You'd be saying, well, that it's innocent because it's not infringing upon your body. The reason why it's not infringing upon your body is because it's naturally there. So then that would also imply that, like, cancer is not infringing upon your body. Sure, you can remove it because it's not human, but you would be saying that cancer was also not infringing upon your body then because it's just natural.
Something being natural doesn't inherently make it good. That's not what I'm saying. Like, if cancer is not an inherently good thing. Cancer is a hindrance. It's an illness, okay? Now, the thing that makes a child in the womb so unique is two things. One, it's a human being that couldn't consent to being put there, that can never in any situation ever consent to being put there. And two, we as humans and parents as humans have an obligation to protect their children as well. And also we as humans that aren't parents have an obligation to not schmurder other people. And that is the way I view an abortion. Those are the descriptors of what would make an abortion wrong, pretty much.
Okay, right. So you're saying abortion is wrong because it's murder, but you're not able to substantiate how this unaliving is unjust. Because, like we
I
just
just
explained,
I can.
well, we just, all right, but we just explained to you that it is just because that human, that new human, the tiny little human, y'all want to call it a human life? Well, no other human has the right to be inside my body if I don't give them permission or say they can or consent or whatever you want to call it. I don't care what it's called at this point. If I don't say, hey, I give you permission to be inside my body, no human has that right. So why are we giving special rights to fetuses to make this unaliving unjust?
Well, there are humans that have special rights to people's bodies, and that is children to their parents. And so, like for example, if you were to, you gotta let me finish 420.
I gotta ask a clarifying question.
I think we've done this before. I'm talking about both, but I'm giving you an example on where we actually give children the rights to a parent's body.
Okay. The thing is, if you're speaking on born children, we have processes set up in place to where we don't have to like go through with that parental obligation, or if we do go through with it, then like we can change our minds, right? We can forfeit like our parental rights to these children. But when they're inside of my body, the only way to terminate that obligation, forfeit my rights, or just decide not to be pregnant anymore might end in their unalivement. And I don't think that unalivement is unjust because they are inside my body. Inside of me.
Yeah, so like in places where those processes don't exist, 420, is it okay for women to delete their children? I get your point. You don't have to yell. I get your point. You don't have to.
But you keep, the only reason I'm talking is because like you cut me off, and so I could talk over you.
I don't think I have, but
it's me, right? My body.
You got a phone call.
I get your point, 420. I know what you're saying.
Me, my body, and then another human is inside my body, right? With their own separate body.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but
it's not me. Like, there's a difference between like directly and indirectly giving resources, and I don't know if you understand that difference.
Well, you are still directly giving resources to a born baby by burning calories and using your body's energy to take care of it.
That's indirectly.
No, you're still directly giving resources by putting forth effort to take care of it.
Stop. This is going nowhere.
My head hurt.
Going back and forth and yelling over each other. It's literally grating to my ears. And I love everyone for coming up here, but please, that was like literally going nowhere. Yes,
I can move it forward.
Yes, it will.
I can move it forward. So 420. With that being said, if we do have these processes in place that allow women to relinquish responsibility here, I don't know which country you're in, but here in the States, we do have those processes available where women can put their kids up for adoption. In places where those processes don't exist, what do you say then? Does that woman have an obligation to take care of a baby?
I'm talking about the U.S. I'm not talking.
I'm talking about everywhere, though.
I don't care about anywhere else. I live in the U.S. I'm talking about what's happening here.
So in the let's look at the storms. Let's look at the storms that just happened. Okay. In the situations where these women cannot relinquish the responsibility that they have to their children to anyone else because of a survival situation, do they have an obligation to take care of those kids if they're stranded? Because consent is an ongoing thing. I think you would agree to that.
It wouldn't be consenting because children can't consent. It would be assenting, first of all.
No, the mother's consenting, not the children.
That it's called assent because the
mother's consent. Mother's consent to taking care of kids.
Oh my god. You're a fucking dingus. Anyways. I would say that since they didn't well, I mean, I'm just trying to explain to him the difference between consent and assent, and he's like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Okay, I'm wrong then. Continue thinking that. I don't care. Anyways, I would say in those circumstances, one, the children are not inside of the body, so it's a completely different situation. And two, they already took on the parental obligation when they decided not to get an abortion unless they were born within the last 4 or 5 years. I am not sure how long Florida has had their ban. Or because now that those children are born and they didn't like put them up for adoption at birth or sacrifice their parental rights, they took on that obligation, right? So I don't understand the question here. Like, this isn't comparable to pregnancy and abortion at all.
So what I'm getting at is if a baby's in the womb, mother is still losing sleep, she's still burning energy, her body's still doing things to take care of the baby, right? Just like once the baby's born, she is burning energy, losing sleep, holding the baby, etc., in order to take care of it so it will survive. So you're making a special plea to pregnancy based off of location. It doesn't matter. Even if I were to grant that it's direct and indirect, there's a difference there. She's still using energy nonetheless from her body with her body. So I'm still looking for a delineation that...
That's right. That just brings us right back around to the point to where once the child is born, you can transfer the obligation, whereas if the child is inside of you, there is no way to transfer the obligation of pregnancy, right? Adoption is a solution to parenthood, not pregnancy. That's the factor you're not getting here, dude.
Well, I think he just took away the factor that you're giving there. You're saying that because during pregnancy, there is no other choice. There is no way to transfer this obligation. So he's just saying like, well, what if we remove the capability of transferring this obligation after birth? Then are you going to say that it's permissible because you can't transfer this obligation? So if your general if your logic would be that because it's not transferable, you would have the right to unalive it, then he's just saying you would have to hold that in any case scenario where you wouldn't be able to transfer the obligation. The Florida
Correct.
kind of messed up me a little bit because I almost feel like if you have young kids and you decided to stay, you already like messed up your obligation because you're already putting your kids in some unsafe spots. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you just drive your kid or if you put your kid in the car without a car seat, you can't just do that. You know what I'm saying? You stay in Florida knowing these hurricanes are hitting with the young children. You almost pretty much unalive them yourself. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too because I know.
I was just gonna say I know people in Hurricane Katrina and you know they get like hurricane warnings all the time. So when they were like, oh, this hurricane's gonna be serious, everyone should evacuate. I know a lot of people are like, they always say that and we're always fine. It's never that serious. And then that one time it really was that serious. And a lot of people didn't evacuate because, you know, it's kind of like the kid who cried wolf. They always say that they're going to be serious and they always say everyone should evacuate. And it wasn't. So then that time that it was, no one believed it was going to be. But,
Yeah.
But I understand what Old Blood's saying. I think that he is making a point, and I kind of understand what you're saying, 422, because you're like, oh, well, you know, if it's not possible, then there's really like nothing we can do about it.
What if it isn't possible, 420? What would you say to those mothers?
I already answered this question. I feel like
I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure I understand the answer. I don't want to strawman you.
I get what.
Yeah, my answer is the fact that if they already went through with the pregnancy, as long as they weren't forced to go through with the pregnancy, and then upon birth they didn't say, oh, I don't want rights or I want to transfer this obligation or whatever, then that is them taking on the obligation of being a parent, which takes on everything that comes along with being a parent. Like, it's not the same as, like, it's completely two different situations. That's why I'm saying it's not.
Yeah, she gave you the symmetry breaker.
Stop
She
peeling her out.
like, and I know everybody's like, oh, thinking about the kid in this scenario. It's not.
Why does that symmetry breaker matter though? Like, what is the thing? If the mother's still burning calories, using energy, losing sleep, holding the baby, what is the thing that is different? So, like,
The symmetry breaker is pregnancy. It's not parenthood. Because you're comparing parenthood to pregnancy, yeah, and in these two scenarios, yeah, that would be logically consistent. But like the actual carrying of a child, the actual having the child in your body, like you cannot say that's analogous to not having someone in your body and taking care of someone that way. That's not analogous. That's the symmetry breaker.
Exactly.
Pregnancy
And
is the
also,
symmetry breaker.
well, also the fact of like, yeah, you are comparing the giving of indirect resources in pregnancy to the giving of indirect resources in parenthood, which is also like, yeah, that's consistent, but there's a lot more to pregnancy requiring the direct giving of my resources, like my blood cells, the space in my body, like there's a lot of differences in that, and that's the symmetry breaker I'm trying to, using Zion's words, give to you, is like they are different situations entirely. They are not analogous.
so even though, and I'm just pointing this out, I'm just clarifying, and then I'll leave it alone. Even though the mother is still using her body's resources, losing sleep, literally still has to hold the child, rock it to sleep, you're making a special plea to location, which is a fallacy.
No, she's not making a special.
No.
It is a special plea to location, absolutely. Show me where the mother isn't using bodily resources to take care of the child outside the womb.
The problem is you're thinking.
And inside the
To
womb.
explain to you the difference between direct and indirect, giving your resources directly and giving them indirectly.
She's still giving resources. You're making a special plea to location.
You are just too dense to understand what I'm saying.
You're making a special plea to location.
She's not making a special plea to location because she's not talking about the baby. She's talking about the pregnancy. She's talking about
The baby is the one that's in the mother's body, dude. It is about the baby.
No, it's not about the baby. It's about pregnancy. Can you transfer the obligation of pregnancy? Yes or no? Can I click a button right now and make somebody else pregnant?
No, you can't. That's the point of my argument. Yeah, exactly. So mothers that can't transfer the obligation to take care of a child when they're in a situation where they can't do so, they are warranted to take their child's life, correct?
Yeah, but that's
No, Zion, yes or no? Are they warranted that?
I'm not listening. That's the
Are they warranted that? Yes or no, dude?
What did you say?
Are mothers that can't relinquish responsibility to their kids that are already born, regardless of where they are in the world, are they warranted to take their child's life to relieve themselves of that burden?
No, and we already explained to you.
Then you're contradicting yourself. You're contradicting yourselves.
Asking the same questions. It's so frustrating.
No, I'm just making sure you understand you're contradicting yourself, and I'm making sure that that's out in the open for everyone to see.
Everyone,
We're not.
mute. Everybody mute.
This is becoming just a little rowdy and not really productive, right? So I wanted to talk to Zion about something about this, obviously, but so Zion, you're saying the symmetry breaker, right? Is that to me it sounds like the symmetry breaker is bodily integrity versus bodily autonomy. It sounds like what it was. So that wouldn't be just because you simply can't transfer it. So that would no longer be the reasoning then. What she would be saying, the symmetry breakers, what she would be saying is that parental obligation does not extend to the direct use of your body. Like you might have to feed your child, but you don't have to feed your child your lane. Like there would be a line drawn between that. That's what it seems like to me. Like it's saying, yeah, you have this parental responsibility, but but the symmetry difference would be the use of the body. If somebody is using their own body to give someone resources as opposed to somebody using their body for resources.
Right. Like I might be obligated to feed my child, say formula or breast milk, but I am not obligated to give them a blood transfusion if I'm a match to them and they need one. I won't get arrested if I say no.
Would you though? Would you?
Probably. I don't know.
I don't have children, so I.
But if you did, would you?
Old blood, not if she's a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, not if they're Jehovah's
Or what
Witnesses.
if I'm like agoraphobic?
And
I'm
I
afraid
don't
of
see
dogs
how
and
my
needles in my
anecdotal
house.
I don't see how my anecdotal opinion pertains to this factual conversation we're having. Like what?
The reason why she's staying logically consistent, right?
She's not.
To target the child. He's like, well, you're taking care of the child in the womb, so you gotta take care of the child outside of it.
Yes.
No, I'm taking care of my pregnancy. I'm terminating my pregnancy. I'm not terminating.
A child is required to be pregnant, Zion.
What?
A child is required to be pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking about a child. You're pregnant with a child.
Like if I terminate the pregnancy, the child just unalives as a result of the termination of pregnancy. But like sometimes that's not always the case. Like what if I do take it to birth, then the obligation of pregnancy no longer applies. That is the symmetry breaker. As soon as she gave birth, she's no longer pregnant. So the obligation of taking care of the child is there.
So removing something from its environment to where it can survive, you wouldn't call that facilitating a schmurder?
No.
So if we just took you and launched you into space right now, we wouldn't be schmurdering you?
Bro, something that's logically possible.
No. Answer the hypothetical. I'm testing your logic right now. Is that schmurder?
That could be a line legally schmurder. You have to argue that.
Would it be schmurder regardless of what the law says?
Would it be schmurder regardless of the law saying no? What?
No. Okay, so if you're just on some island with people and there's no law, you wouldn't you deleting people wouldn't be schmurder, right?
I need more context than you just shooting me up in space.
Zion, I'm kicking your door in. I kick your door in. I drag you out of your home. I throw you in a rocket that launches you into space and blows up.
By force?
Is that schmurder? Yes, by force. Let's say you're asleep. Let's say you're asleep and I do it while you're asleep.
I can't consent, so yes.
You're right. So a baby can't consent to being brought into this world or aborted. So you would be schmurdering the baby. Right?
That would
Right?
be analogous if we're talking about the child.
Would you be schmurdering a baby, Zion?
Would it be schmurdering the baby?
Yeah. Would it be schmurdering a baby? You just already conceded, Zion, that a child must be involved in a pregnancy for someone to be pregnant. So, would it be schmurdering a baby?
Would it be considered murder?
No, it would be unaliving.
Oh, so the same thing? Because we're using TikTok terms?
I said you cannot unalive. Because with my stance, you cannot unalive consider murder because it's not a moral agent. Like I can't. It doesn't have sentience.
It doesn't matter. We already established that amorality doesn't necessarily mean nothing can be innocent. That's not true. No,
You established that, and we moved on with the conversation because you started to get circular.
Right, so innocent. Do we have to go over the meaning of innocent and amoral again to keep you guys on the same page?
So, to be moral, you have to actually have the ability to be moral. If you don't have the ability to do nothing, then you're nothing. Like that's like saying a firearm or something that is an amoral agent. Amoral agents don't have no state of innocence nor guilt.
What about a human in a vegetated state? Are they amoral? They're unable to do anything right and wrong, correct? They're in a vegetated. Someone in a vegetated state.
Talking cognitively, not physically.
Well, what if physically they can't do anything wrong? Physically they can't do anything wrong.
So you could take them off of life support.
What are you saying?
A person in a vegetative state.
I don't necessarily consider that correct either. But Zion, is someone, that's not even my point. I will argue that point, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. Someone who's in a vegetated state that can't do anything wrong or right, are they guilty of a crime they did not commit? Or are they innocent?
You just saying not being guilty of a crime. That's not a state of...
That is a state of innocence, dude. That's exactly what a state of innocence is. It doesn't matter if it's an amoral agent. My speaker sitting on my desk is innocent of a crime because it did not commit one.
That's what I'm saying. Your speaker's not even capable of doing a crime.
It doesn't matter. That means, by definition, it's innocent. It is not guilty. That's all that innocent means.